Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Should Blizzard be listening to the player base about classic servers? No! Oh, there you go, there you go. Ladies and gents, the question that is becoming more and more horrible right now is, why? Why did they say this? Did they say it to sort of poke fun at the community? Or what? Like, on that stage, he's like, don't worry, guys, we're going to listen to you in order to figure out what is exactly what you want to recreate on this gameplay server. And we can say, without a shadow of a doubt, it has turned to a clusterfuck.
Yep.
An utter clusterfuck. And at this point, I don't think they could backtrack and say, actually, no, we're not going to. I don't think that would help the situation either. But they should, even if they weren't going to, or I should say, even if they were actually going to do this, I think it's pretty apparent that no, they should just get on with it and get it done all by themselves, and then we'll go from there. Because honestly, the reasons are vast. If we look anywhere, and we have to say, they seem to be trying. So we had a thread pop up on the official WoW forums where two community managers got involved and led to yet another massive clusterfuck because they decided to talk about class balance. Now, what did these community managers actually say that got them so much hate? They think the conversation should be had. That was it. That was all they said. They didn't give an opinion either way. They were very clear, actually, that internally they haven't decided anything. The team's not even made. But have the discussion. Let's see what the community's got to say on this. I don't know, a hell of a lot of pages later and a hell of a lot of hate later, and frankly, those guys were getting absolutely hammered by people for even suggesting the conversation should take place. And that kind of vitriol ain't gonna get us very far, is it now? No, it's not, especially when they didn't actually say anything other than, you know, we did say at BlizzCon we were going to put this out to the community. You guys are having this talk. Have the conversation. Let's see what you guys say. And they got a lot of stick for that. But why, though? It's easy to say at this point, yeah, shut it down. But have we got legitimate reasons on both sides? And let's say both sides, despite the fact it's clearly all over the place. Yeah, people are really uneducated on the matter. I don't think it's become any more obvious than reading, certainly if you go to MMO Champ, people bringing up things about classic WoW that are entirely wrong. That's the worst part, is they're entirely wrong. Arguing over things from Bloodlust to how Paladins works when they clearly don't know. Now, take it from me, as somebody who had to research the crap out of these classes, even though I played it for years, it takes a long time to research the ins and outs of what actually happened back then, because our memories become very skewed because, you know, it was over a decade ago. Of course, you get shit wrong, like what exactly the talents did and all that kind of stuff. So you can't have people making choices when they're not quite sure or they're not accurate in what they want changed. Similarly, on the uneducated matter, though, the knock-on effect of certain changes is massive, and people are desperately trying to explain to people why changing, say, the most recent one I read was if you give a paladin taunt, because paladins didn't have taunts in Classic, but people want to play paladin tanks. So people are saying, well, just give a paladin taunt. What's the harm it could do?
Tough.
Well, what's the harm it could do? Okay.
The effect of giving it taunt.
Well, let's start through it then, because somebody made a very good post, and I'm actually going to do a video on how this affects DPS as well. But that's a bigger video. Let's say we give a paladin taunt. Okay, well, that kind of indicates that Blizzard kind of wants paladins maybe to have a go at tanking, right? They have a protection tree, we've given them taunt now, all right? But uh-oh, hey-oh, that wasn't the only problem with the paladin tank. Never had any mana. Big problem. It was very difficult for it to become defense capped. Ah, shit. Now it's getting crushed. It needs way more stats than a warrior. Hasn't really got the best defensive tools either. Gonna need more gear. Okay, so we start looking at it. Well, I started wearing this tanking gear, but I need intellect and I need spell power. Spell power? Yeah, Prot Paladins use spell power. In fact, they used the fucking Tempest of Chaos from Archimonde, and the casters didn't get one of the pieces of shit, and that was in TBC, but now we're going back to vanilla. So, okay, Blizzard, you gave us taunt. You clearly kind of want us to have a go at tanking, so can we have some better gear? Because it doesn't really work without the gear, Blizz. You know, they're right. We did make this one concession in giving them taunt. Maybe we do need to give them the tanking set or something like that, you know, with a bit of intellect and some defense and stuff on it. Can't go halfway. It doesn't work. All right, we'll give them that then. Okay. But we're still running out of mana. I mean, I'm spamming mana potions, but my class and my design doesn't help me get anywhere because I run out of mana after a few spells if I'm trying to tank something. We need to fix that. This wasn't fixed until TBC, but maybe we can implement that now where they get mana back from healing taken. That worked in TBC. Maybe we could throw that in there or something like that. Uh-oh. Very quickly, you've now got the dominant tank. Very, very quickly, if you start changing all this stuff, you start to have a new dominant tank. Well, what's the problem with that, Preacher? Well, that's not really fair on the Warriors, is it now? So now we're in the whole realm of trying to find how it works out. And as a brief guide towards the DPS, guys, I want to say something. People keep sending me logs, because there are logs from private servers, and I'll get to private servers in a minute, of people playing Boonkins, Ret, and Shadow, and showing, Preacher, look, I was the top of the DPS. Yes, but DPS wasn't actually the big problem with Ret or Shadow. Now, bear with me. Or damage, I should say. The big problem was they couldn't keep it up without doing various bamboozlements. And even then, you were kind of having to play against bad players to make yourself look good. The problem was their damage was great. This is why you saw Rets and Shadows in PvP. It was great for about a minute. And then it just ran dry. And I played with one of the best geared Shadow Priests in the world. And regularly, even on bigger trash, he would have to stop using things like dots. They cost too much mana. Sometimes he'd have to stop using Mind Blast. It cost too much mana. And have to start just using Mind Flay, essentially. Was great for about a minute or so. And you can find plenty of people playing private servers, playing Shadow Priest, Moonkins, Rets, who are doing great damage. Great damage. For about a minute, minute and a half. And then it drops away. You then check into a fight that lasts 3 or 4 minutes. Uh-oh. Things start dropping down. And that's not good at all. In fact, if we go to those logs, what do we see? Who's the best performers? Because again, if you play with crap players, you're always going to look good. You're always going to look good. Play against DPS is shit. Guess what? Your DPS looks better, right? If you're rank 1 spamming with loads of spell power, doing any sort of crazy stuff, you start looking better, right? That's just the natural order of things. But if we check the actual logs of good players, we see that that's not the case at all. The reality is it's the usual suspects at the top. And changing one minor thing, like giving Paladins taunt, has a knock-on effect throughout the entire game. And it starts instantly shuffling things around. Going back to Uneducated, though, the guys from the private servers, hey, you guys fought for this. I have no reason to bash you, but I've seen the videos of you guys playing on private servers. I've seen many of them, and I'll show you one right now. That's not how Classic WoW looked. And I'm sorry to be a dick about it, or if you think I'm being a dick. That's not what Classic WoW raiding looked like. Those add-ons and things that you guys are using on the private servers, they weren't available. Didn't look like that. We were not as efficient as that. We were very inefficient because we didn't have access to things like that. You need to bear in mind that even though you might have had a lot of investment on a private server, you don't exactly know what went on to make a lot of that work, how many different things changed around, and certainly just from looking at a UI, I could tell you that's not what it looked like. It's pretty close. It's pretty close, but you have significant advantages over what we actually had in Classic, so you need to take that with a pinch of salt. Let's go further. Why else shouldn't they listen to the community? The range of opinions are all over the place. They're all over the place. People don't know what they want. They're not entirely sure. And I know at the moment, a lot of people who are asking for these quality of life improvements, let's call them that, are definitely in the minds of a lot of people, the guys who didn't fight for the Classic servers. I don't think that's 100% the case. I really don't. I checked some post histories of people who are asking for the minor stuff, right? They're asking for like, can we just get stuff that like our pets and our mounts don't have to be kept, you know, in certain things? Can we get more bag life stuff, all this? This also leads to more, of course, knock-on effects as anything does. It's the butterfly effect in action. Those are guys who fought for the Classic servers. It's very easy to find the post histories because it's such a passionate subject. People were posting constantly when it was up in arms, right? The previous war about this subject. Very easy to see that a lot of these guys were actually advocates for the Classic servers, and now they're coming, they're trying to change it for the little bits they don't like. That's happening quite a bit. Well, the final point, and I think this is the important point as to why Blizzard needs to ignore this, is the trolling is real. Gonna happen anytime you get a very easy target, and the people super passionate about Classic are a very easy target. And it's like poking a bear with a red hot poker every single time they make a post. A lot of them probably don't want LFG. A lot of them probably know that Bloodlust did not exist in Classic, right? But posting it drives people insane. It drives them crazy. It drives them absolutely nuts, and that's going to continue because it's so easy for them to do. Little Jimmy, who does nothing else all day but post on forums to wind people up, is having a field day right now. And that will continue as long as the passion continues. And this passion is going to continue until the game actually comes out. I'm on record as saying my opinion is launch it as classic as it can possibly be, and then have a vote later. If you want to make some changes, have a vote later. 6 months down the line, 7 months down the line. And I honestly think, and I'm going to throw this to Andy. Andy hasn't heard this before, but I think if they do want to make changes to Classic 6, 7 months down the line, it should not be open to everybody.
No.
I think at bare minimum, you should have a capped character on Classic, so you at least have some understanding of how the change would affect the game. Because I don't think, let me put it this way, I don't think little Jimmy, who's just got WoW for Christmas, should be able to vote on changes to something because people consider it so precious.
No, I agree.
I think if you've got a capped character, then if you're voting for something like, let's be outrageous and don't, this isn't the best example, but it makes the most sense. He's voting for something like LFD, then he should at least have a level 60 character that he's tried to group with in some way, or tried to do something with, to see whether or not that's a good thing. Is it needed or not? Right? I think a bare minimum of that would cut out a lot of the people who are just going to vote against or vote to implement things that they don't even care about. They don't no interest in playing Classic. Wouldn't it be funny if we fuck up their server? There are plenty of people like that on the internet, right? There are plenty of people like that on the internet. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's my thoughts on it anyway. Dog's angry. See you later. Bye-bye.